that it's recording now, and I'm going to start the presentation. So first of all, thank you very much for joining this Zoom call. Mainly, the reason why we're hosting this Zoom call is because obviously we all know that the things are changing so rapidly. Even up until half an hour ago, the government of Ontario and Quebec just mandated a province-wide lockdown of all businesses. And even for for the sake of our business, we're going to need to figure out pretty quick here, what does that mean? If you're Ontario or Quebec, does that mean that none of your people can go into the office at all? There's going to be certain operational things that we're gonna touch on today that we're going to need to that we'll be able to talk through. But it's evolving, and this thing crept up pretty quick. And I know over the last week, especially week and a half or so, I've been getting a lot of emails and requests from people to kind of share what we've done. I'm in a little bit of a unique position because we've got kind of two companies here. So I get a little bit of a different perspective from both worlds, whether it's the brokerage and what we've done with the brokerage, which I'm going to be sharing with you guys a lot of what we're doing. And then we've got Trufla, which most of you, well, if you're here, you know of it. So I wanted to share some of those perspectives. As you can see from my surround, well, I don't know if you can really tell, I'm actually currently in self-imposed quarantine. So I was actually overseas when everything started unraveling, and I came back to Canada on March 13th, and I was actually out of town with most of the overseas with most of the executive team from Sharp Insurance, which posed an even bigger challenge because we had mandated really early on, before any of the government mandates or anything, that anybody coming in from overseas had to self quarantine at home. So a lot of what we're going through today actually was ratcheted up a little bit in terms of challenge, because we had to do it from home, and we had kind of thin leadership at the office. But I am in isolated quarantine. I'm in my basement. My daughters, there isn't a lot of background. So one of my daughters made painted the Trufla sign that you're kind of seeing there. So it gives it a little background. And the other one painted the sunshine that I've only seen once in the last 11 days or so. And I am planning on going for a little walk after this. So I've been managing everything from my basement, the basement of my home, with no contact with my family. And it's been tough, but like I always tell people at work, and I'm a very big believer on this, life is a mathematical equation. You're either part of the problem or the solution. Pick a side. So we chose to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And we took some pretty decisive action and things early on to make sure we were operating not just, in terms of business continuity, but for the safety of our people, and making sure that we're there for our staff, as many of you have. I mean, I really was warm. It was warming for me to see that many brokers pivoted pretty quick, and were able to shift their businesses on the fly. But there was still a lot of questions around things. I've got some of the team here that are going to be presenting with me today, because this was definitely not all myself. It took our little village to make things happen. I've got my own little co-worker here that's been with me. If you guys can kind of see, this is the extent of my my co-workers. But yeah, let's get started. This is really informal. We put this together pretty quick. I'm going to ask that if you guys have questions or anything, there's going to be a question and chat period right at the end, and we want it to be engaging, but there is some rules of engagement, because there is going to be many people here, and we can't have everybody jumping in at the same time, but I'm going to share my screen here and get this presentation started. And again, if you guys have questions or anything, you're more than welcome to just hold on to them till the end, and we'll try to answer all the questions. Hopefully we cover. I want to start by saying we don't have all the answers. We think we've covered off quite a bit, but there's certainly going to be things that are not covered here. There's such a broad scope of what we do as brokers, and it's really tough to capture everything. But hopefully we've captured the majority of it, and it gives you something valuable to walk away with. Sorry, I'm going to go back. So this is basically the agenda of what we're looking to cover today. So we're going to talk about a bunch of connectivity tools. How do you connect up, all your people in a lot of different ways, whether it's remote desktoping in, why that's important, different communications tools, how to maintain that communication with your team, which is crucial, planning for it. We're going to talk a bit about your website and why that is one of the most powerful communication tools you have, and its capabilities. We're going to talk about some self-serve tips and tricks, which is obviously something that's near and dear to my heart for years, and everybody knows that. And then things to consider in terms of operational best practices for your brokerages, things that we've been thinking about. Obviously, we're partnered with CBN, and there's been a lot of chat there. And I thought I'd share some of those things that were talked about, to other brokers. So in terms of connectivity tools, really the goal of the tool is to recreate the broker's work environment at home. There are cloud-based BMSs right now. You can remote log into TAM. You've got Epic, that is a cloud-based BMS. There's other offerings out there, but they don't quite solve the entire problem. They'll allow you to log into the BMS, but it doesn't totally get solved. Many of your brokers have a lot of their files stored locally on their PCs. They've got applications, pre-auth forms, underwriter guidelines, things like that, and there's a lot of things that they have stored locally in their local environment that they need access to. And not a lot of brokerages that I'm aware of, I'm sure there's a bunch here that do have it, that have cloud-based file solutions for document sharing. Tools such as OneDrive, such as Google Drive or Dropbox, those document repositories are so important for sharing mass documents, and a lot of brokerages will have a lot of their key documents there to be accessed from anywhere. So this, and another thing you have to consider is even little things like saved passwords. A lot of people will save their passwords locally on their browsers on their computer to access certain things, and if they don't have that access, or if they start forgetting, their reminder questions or whatever, it creates a little stall. It's not the end of the world. We can figure it out, but we're trying to have kind of a streamlined business continuity. So again, just little things to consider. So the solution that we think is likely one of the better ones is to have your people connect to their desktops remotely, which is exactly what we did at Sharp Insurance. Here's a bunch of different tools that are available out in the market. There's actually a lot more. These are more the more popular tools out there. I've used a lot of these tools, whether it's GoToMyPC, TeamViewer, Microsoft Remote Desktop, which actually comes kind of built into Windows, Remote PC. All these are fantastic tools that you can use, where it allows you to install the program locally on the desktop, and then you simply click and remote in. The tool that we've chosen to use, is Citrix. You know, our IT team kind of went through, and this was the one we selected, but they all work quite well. Some of the benefits and costs of some of these tools: they're really easy and quick to set up. Most don't need any kind of special IT resources or anything. Really, once you've signed up, you set up the local, you set up the software locally on the host, or the host computer, and then you can remote in, and they'll be able to access all of their files and everything relatively quick. It's really quick to sign up and start using. They're set up as software as a service, so there's no issues there. Again, it doesn't need a lot of IT resources. It allows users to log into their desktop and operate as if they're in the office. That's the goal. That's what you want to achieve. And it even supports multiple screens. So for brokers that have multiple screens, the tool does allow them to do that. And so it's relatively easy to kind of turn on that switch and have them having your teams work from home, but you know, remoting into these services. Some of the costs, the average cost, and we kind of looked into it, especially over the last few days, is about $50 per user per month. And of course, the larger your organization, you can get you know, kind of lower costs on volume. But that's the average cost per user. So it's not cost prohibitive. It's not insane. Certainly it is a cost, but it's a relatively low cost in terms of having, you know, that business continuity and having your brokers log in from you know, from home, and having the same experience, that same kind of environment at home as at the office. Next, we're going to talk about communication and tools. This, I think, is actually the bigger one. The remoting in is important, and it gives you that business continuity. But in a world where everybody's working at home and they're not in the same office space and whatnot, communication becomes paramount. So, and you have to be able to effectively, the goal here is to effectively communicate both internally and externally. Communication is kind of all in, and it takes you know, you have to step up your communication game in a big way when everyone is disbanded and they're working remotely and independently, because you don't have that same line of sight. You know, you've kind of lost the sense of sight, of hearing, and you're really depending on this kind of communication. You know, there are various tools available for each type of communication. There isn't really one that's a catch-all that does everything. You know, there's different tools that are really good in certain areas, whether it's internal communication or external communication to your clients. And with communication, having a well thought out plan is so crucial, and considering all your stakeholders. I mean, there's a lot of people you have to consider when you're communicating. It's not just your team internally. It's not just your clients, but your insurers, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. Making sure you're communicating to them, and because you've got that same expectation of them to communicate to you. Your vendors. There's a whole swath of people you have to communicate to, and everything just shifted and moved very quickly. So planning that is so important. Plan. And the proper use of these tools, like I said, becomes more important without the face-to-face interaction. We're going to keep hitting this message over and over. Have a plan. Be proactive, not reactive. And the solution here is to have the right plan and tools. That's really what it comes down to. Even if you don't have a plan now, which is going to be brought up later, it's not too late to have a communication plan. It's never too late. We know this thing isn't going to go away soon. We're likely not going to be back in our offices in a couple of weeks, and it's going to drag out. So it's never too late to have that plan. These are some of the internal communication tools that are available out on the market. Obviously, we're using Zoom, which is one that that's near and dear to us. A lot of people are using Zoom. If anybody out there bought Zoom a few months ago, bought any of their stock, it's probably the only stock right now that's doing well globally. Well, a bunch of technology stocks are, but that one's a big one. Microsoft Teams, a very popular one. Google Hangouts, most people know Google Hangouts because you have your Gmail account. And there is the business version of Google Hangouts, Google for Business, which I think is now being offered for free for some time there. Google had made that announcement. But the ones we decide to use, we use Slack. Slack is a popular one. We think it's a great platform for communications, being able to create various channels within your brokerage, whether it's a leadership channel or general channel, whatever it may be. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And Zoom as well, which we're all on the Zoom call. Those two are important. We have regular meetings using Zoom now, like most brokerages and businesses are. It's very popular. I've seen it all over social media, but they all work really well. Skype is very popular. You know, pick one, pick a couple, and use them. You know, depending on what you need them for. We use Slack for quick chatting, communications, file sharing, and Zoom for face-to-face quick meetings like this, internally and externally. Benefits and costs for each one. You know, again, easy, quick to set up. Most of them don't need any special IT resources or anything. It's really as easy as kind of go to the site, sign up, and you can start using it. There isn't a lot of training, and if there is training, all these companies are so professional. They're fantastic. There's a lot of online training available to kind of get you started pretty quick. And you know, a lot of our team had never actually used Slack before, so we had to set up a bunch of accounts really quick, and everybody adopted it really fast. We use it to share business things and non-business things. You know, there's our general chat in there is pretty lighthearted, and we send you know, I see a lot of memes flying through there and jokes and keeping it light with everybody. So it doesn't require a lot of training, and you can turn it on relatively quick. You know, a lot of the tools are the same. Almost all of them are mobile friendly, and they've got an app, so you can take it on the go. That's crucial. So you know, they don't necessarily have to be right at their desktop. They can be mobile with it. They're not going to. Most of them aren't going to leave their homes. We know that, but you know, it's nice to have it on your phone. I know a lot of times I'm responding to messages through the phone, not necessarily being at my Surface Pro, but that's a big advantage. And they're really cost effective. These are really cost effective. The costs range anywhere from freemium, and if you've never heard the word freemium before, it's basically means the app, the tools are free for a certain level of usage, up to about, you know, kind of on the high end, $25 per user per month, and that's really a lot of features. Zoom and Slack are both free, so they are free to use. You know, we have a combination of both free and paid licenses. For the paid licenses, it gives you the ability to have meetings, share stuff a little bit more. There's some few extra features, especially on the Truthful side. We use it all paid. On the Sharp side, it's all freemium. And Zoom is freemium as well. It's free. It allows for meetings up to 45 minutes, and then the meeting will end. All of our managers have paid accounts so that they can set up meetings for longer. They're not cut off, and you can set up more people. Although I believe the freemium version actually allows for up to 100 people. Like this version that we're using right now, my version is a pro version, and it allows for up to 300 users. So, you know, if you're a large organization, you've got a lot of brokers, or, you know, whatever it may be, you can get different versions of it, but it's a really inexpensive way to get your people connected and on. You know, highly recommended. They're both fantastic. All of them are really great tools, but those are the two that we chose. And this is, you know, for external communications. These are some of the tools that are available out there. You will have heard of most of these. Some of them are really value priced for what you get. Some of them are heavier on the pricing side, but it depends on what you want to use, and kind of the level of functionality that you want from the tool. We use a tool called SharpSpring, you know, for not just because it's sharp in there, but it's actually an American company that we found based out of Florida that's relatively inexpensive. They've got some really cool tools and allows for mass emails, and we can bring in data from our BMS system and from other other areas to be able to customize emails pretty quick, create templates in there. We do all our drip campaigns out of there. It's a very powerful tool. And we've used Constant Contact, we've used MailChimp, we've used HubSpot before, and that's kind of the one that we prefer is SharpSpring for us. Benefits and costs, again, easy and quick to set up. It's kind of the common theme with a lot of these tools. They're intended to be easy, you know, so you don't need any IT resource. You know, most brokerages are small brokerages. You don't have IT resources, and you don't need it. It's really easy to set up on the fly. You know, and I'll just throw it out there. If anybody needs help setting this stuff up, I'm more than happy. Myself or any of our team will happily help you guys set that up. That's how easy it is. It's yeah. Sorry, I've got a message. Yeah, Corey, I will post and share. I'm happy to share the slides, and it'll also be the meeting's recorded as well. Sorry, just back to it here. To do it properly, you do need to pull a client list once, at least the majority of your clients, and then update it every so often. This is usually the most challenging part, is getting those client lists out of the BMS systems. It's definitely not an easy task depending on the BMS that you're in, but I recommend you call your BMS provider to be able to, you know, get them to help you pull those lists so you can dump it into these systems, into these mass email systems, so that you can email clients more frequently and more efficiently. You're not offside with Castle laws if they're your own clients, obviously, so you can do that, and it's a good thing to send those messages. And we're going to get into a little bit more detail of the type of messages we've been sending out to our clients and the frequency, to give you an idea. Again, every brokerage does it a different way, and I'm definitely not saying we did it the best. It was what we knew, but I'd love to hear if there's others here that have different ideas to kind of share at the end. This is what we're here for, is to all share kind of best ideas, best practices in a really difficult and once in a generation, hopefully, event. In these tools, it's easy to set up templates. The more data you can get out of your system, the more you can customize your email, and makes it even more valuable to your clients. And the cost of these tools typically depends on usage. Most of them are a fee for a certain number of emails that you send out monthly, so you kind of buy it in buckets of emails. It will also depend on the level of functionality, how integrated you want. I'd suggest for the sake of most brokerages, that especially if you haven't done it before, keep it simple. You don't necessarily need to go into the customization, getting that data in and customizing quite yet. Again, we know this world quite well. We're more than happy to help. There's a lot of companies out there. Truthful certainly isn't the only. Yeah, pretty easy to help out if anybody needs help on this. And then crisis communication management. This is a pretty big thing for us. You know, we kind of had a plan early on, you know, and had to execute on it. And I'm actually going to turn the presentation over to Tanya Coburn, who's our communications manager for Sharp, and she'll kind of explain, walk you through the steps of what we did, and how it kind of how it unfolded there. So Tanya, if you want to share your screen. Am I moving at an okay pace, or am I moving too fast? Seems okay. Good. So over to you.
Thank you, Sharif. Welcome. I have my notes and you guys on this screen, and I have my PowerPoint slides on this screen. So if I'm shifting back and forth, I apologize. Can everybody see my screen okay? Sharif, can you see it?
Yeah.
My PowerPoint. Perfect. Okay. So further to what Sharif was saying about planning, it really is not too late to plan. I promise you that. If I've learned anything from the Fort McMurray fires and working in crisis communications at that time, planning is crucial. And I know what you might be thinking. It's too late for pre-crisis planning. Now is the time to execute tactics, whether it's just, okay, we need to get this out, we need to get this out, rather than build out scenarios. I assure you it's not too late. There are still a lot of unknowns that need to be considered. And the more unknowns you consider, the faster you can get your communications out there. This is a defining moment for your brand. How you communicate to your clients and to your employees during a crisis will help your brand grow and strengthen in your community. I promise you that. But before we get into that, I'm going to share a little story about what happened with the Sharp group of companies in the last couple of weeks. And I want to quote one of my favorite movies, Ferris Bueller. Life moves pretty fast around here, and if you don't look around once in a while, you might miss it. So as a leadership team, as Sharif was saying, we were very fortunate to spend a few weeks in London and then in Cairo in late February and early March. As we traveled, it became very clear to us that COVID-19 was quickly evolving into a global pandemic and that the world was shifting quickly under our feet. And we knew that we needed to act swiftly through disaster crisis mitigation planning. The majority of us came back from Cairo on Sunday, March 8th. We self-isolated and began the process of planning for the spread of COVID-19 in Alberta and the rest of Canada, and how that would impact our core operations at Sharp, Link, Goldkey, and Trufla. On March 11th, all key stakeholders were identified and asked to participate in a COVID-19 management meeting. On March 13th, a 4-phase plan was approved by all stakeholders. And on Monday, March 17th, we made the decision to skip past our 4-phase plan, which I'll show you in a minute, and have every single person work remotely. That is, our entire call center shifted into a remote operations. So on Wednesday, we created, as I talked earlier, a 4-phase plan. So the first phase was low risk of infection to the office. And we had played out different scenarios and different ways we were going to communicate to all of our stakeholders, depending on the scenario we were in. Again, we went from phase 1 to phase 4 in 24 hours. And phase 4 was the worst case scenario that we had to operate our entire operations remotely. So we built our crisis communications team, thankfully, before we got to phase 4. Our crisis communications team consisted of the president, who's Sharif. He led the team and created the team and identified the key stakeholders. The executive team for all the group of companies were involved. The management team for all the core departments, including accounting and IT, were involved, and myself as the communications manager. We also identified our stakeholders. This is one of the most important parts of your crisis communication strategy. That included our crisis communications team. We absolutely needed daily meetings and the ability to chat frequently, quickly, and effectively. Employees were, of course, our next team. They needed to be kept up to date on everything related to the company's response for COVID-19. Ensure responses to COVID-19, any training related to what we needed to do to get them to work from home was also needed. Our customers, 100%, were our key stakeholders. They needed to be kept informed about the latest service updates that could impact their insurance or services we were able or unable to provide to them. And last but certainly not least, our insurer partners. As you know, things are moving very quickly. People are flooding our call center, and it might be the same with you, about payment issues, business interruption notices. So we need to keep that constant communication with our insurer partners to see how we can help our clients. Next, we established how we wanted to communicate to our key stakeholders. Sorry, guys. For the crisis management team, because half of us were already working remotely because we were self-isolating after Cairo, we immediately adopted Slack and Zoom, and it took us less than 2 hours to actually use and become addicted to these channels. We then, in phase one, which lasted 1 day, we decided for our employees, the best way to communicate with them was through email, our Sharp group intranet, and through in-person huddles. But 24 hours later, we moved to phase 4 communications phase, which was to put everybody on Slack and Zoom and to put all important documentation related to COVID-19 on our intranet. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the internal tools for our communication and how we use them, and suggestions for other tools that are out there that I've personally tried. So Slack is great. Of all the tools I've tried in the past, Slack is your quick fire way to get approvals. As a communications manager, my biggest thing is getting approvals for messaging from key stakeholders. And I was able to turn around content in less than minutes to have them up on our website and social channels. Brainstorming. Slack is a great brainstorming tool. Staff engagement. So I'm just going to show you this. Right now we're using a general channel. Every single person in the Sharp group of companies is in this general channel. And we share fun things during the day as if you were walking by someone's desk and saying hi. That staff engagement during self-isolation period is crucial. It's sometimes the only social interaction somebody has. And of course, resource sharing. So you can share files back and forth. It's pretty secure. Some of the channels we built, and you can see on the screen here, that we've been using a lot is our COVID comms link. So that has all of our key stakeholders and the communications team. And we share ideas and possible posts that need to go up depending on the situation. Our COVID web and social channel is used primarily for communications that need to go up immediately on our social and our website. So an example of that, on Wednesday when the whole call center was officially remote, we put a huge strain on the TELUS network. And so there were a lot of call disruptions. So we needed to put up on our website emergency messaging, and our social, we need to let people know that the calls were unstable and to try us through our mobile app or through email. We also have a leadership channel set up called the Leadership Crew, where the leadership talks and discusses strategy. We have the sales team on there and the client experience team, which is our client care department. Other tools you can use that I've tried, Microsoft Teams. It's pretty good. It's a little bit clunky. I do recommend Slack over Microsoft Teams. It's faster and it's a lot more intuitive. And Google Hangouts is great. Not the best for organizing channels, but it's great. The thing about Slack that I like, it's free. You can use it. It's secure. And if you want the paid version, you can actually do video conferencing and screen sharing. So it's a great interactive tool as well. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our intranet. So a few months back, we decided to build our own intranet platform to save some money because we were subscribing to a platform called Igloo, and it was getting quite expensive the more users we had. It was, I think, $14 US per user. So we teamed up with Trufa, and they helped us custom build an intranet platform for us. And this is where we house all of our resources, our document management. So our document management, it actually syncs with OneDrive. So if you're already using OneDrive for your document management, this was a great tool for us. And important news and bulletins. So I'm just going to play a video here of what that looks like. So that's our corporate news section. Over here, we created a custom COVID-19 dashboard with all important instructions on getting everybody up and running remotely. All of this is stored on the cloud, so anybody can access this wherever they are. They do not have to be in the office. And it is extremely secure. IT set it up as a 2-factor authentication. Someone hacking into it is pretty low. It also has a community page where you can connect with different people in the company. As we grow, this is becoming more and more important. We also have a broker dashboard. As a call center, we wanted to put all the necessary documents for brokers while they're on a call to bring up so that they can do everything over one call rather than have to hang up, call back, hang up, call back. Similar platforms that you may or may not be using already is SharePoint, Jostle, and OneDrive you can use as an intranet because you can create little communities from there, but you can't really interact the same way you can on a regular intranet platform. Zoom. Zoom is now my favorite tool. I've been in self-isolation now for 15 days, and I just found out from AHS I need another 3 days in self-isolation. And I'm probably driving people from sharp crazy because I'm insisting that they chat with me on Zoom all the time. We use Zoom for important meetings, for team huddles, and really an important way we use Zoom is for socialization. It's really important for us to get that face-to-face time with various people in the company. We set up a lunchtime Zoom chat, so basically you can eat lunch with your coworkers over Zoom. This snapshot was taken a few days ago. We were having lunch and just talking about our feelings, about how things are going. Similar, you guys can use Skype and Microsoft Teams. I've tried Microsoft Teams. It's okay. It can be a little, the streaming is not as great. The quality is not as great, I found, with Microsoft Teams, but it's also a good tool. Again, Zoom is free, so why not use it? So that kind of brings us to our external communications channels. Okay, sorry, I just got a question here from Mark Jackson. Just wondering why you don't use the channel features and chat in Zoom and have everything in one place instead of using both tools. That's a great question, Mark. It's because, so the reason why we stayed on Slack, we already had a lot of people at Sharp and TrueFlat using Slack to communicate. So it was easier for us to just add more channels and add more people on it than to just move everybody off to Zoom. But that's definitely something we can investigate in the future. I actually haven't tried out the chat feature yet on Zoom, but thank you. Okay, so for our external communications channel, in our pre-crisis planning, we identified 5 important channels to communicate with our clients. And that, of course, is through email, social media, our website, our mobile app and portal, and through phone messaging. So after the pre-crisis planning, when we had our 4 phases, we created what was called pre-approved messages derived from the pre-crisis phase, meaning there were kind of blanket messages we knew we could get out there without any approvals needed, such as, thank you for your patience, we're experiencing high call volumes during the COVID-19 situation, or stock messages we knew we probably need to put up depending on the situation. That was very helpful. We created a RACI chart, so that's of course responsible, accountable, informed, and consulted, because we needed to know very quickly who to get the information from and who at the company needs to approve it. And we're talking within an hour. And from there, we created a content calendar, including all the channels these messages had to be distributed in. And during the crisis phase, this is on a 3-day cycle. So I only plan the content calendar 3 days in advance. And on that 3rd day, I will meet with our crisis communications team, and we look at the next 3 days of what we want to do. I'm going to show you an example of our content planner here. You can see I have it for TrueFlat, Sharp, Gold Key, and Link. I have the messaging that we had up there, the audience it needed to be distributed to, the medium, so what channel it was going to be blasted through, who was responsible to get this content out, and who needed to approve it, and the date it needed to be completed.
I just want to, before Tanya goes on, I want to make a comment that, you know, with this kind of planning, doing doing a content calendar, even doing the you know, content planning and whatnot, you know, while we're thankful to have a communications manager, you don't need a communications manager for that. Like, I don't want brokerages to get hung up on. We've got certain resources for it. We used to do this stuff in crisis mode when the brokerage was significantly smaller, before even having a communications manager. Really all it takes is for somebody in the brokerage to kind of plan it out. Whoever does whether your social media or emails or whatever, have a plan. That's the key thing, is planning it out, and then and executing on it. So that's just a little comment.
Absolutely. And from that content planner, we laid out a social media content calendar. Because as I stated before, how you represent your brand online during a crisis is going to have a huge impact on your brand in the future. So to make sure we were accurately representing the messaging, we created a Excel sheet on OneDrive that we could share with all of our stakeholders, so they had complete visibility on not only the platforms it was going up, but the type of messaging and the imagery as well. And so this is a little piece of kind of how we did that, and we're still using it right now. This is recorded off my screen, but we're adding to it on a 3-day cycle. We quickly identified early on the type of content we wanted up. We identified 5 buckets of the type of content that needed to go up online. So that was service updates, feel-good posts, inside sharp, link and gold key during the crisis, and hashtag my coworker posts. That is how we wanted to represent our brand. We wanted to keep our customer base informed, but we also wanted to keep things light during this time. And so that kind of brings us then to our external, sorry, I thought I had a slide on a really good tool we use for this. Just give me 2 seconds here. I don't. Okay, so we actually use a channel called Zoom, or Zoomly. So Zoomly is a, if you guys are familiar with Sprout Social or Hootsuite, it's a content planner for social media. It allows you to kind of schedule everything out on various different channels all at once, so you're saving a lot of time. And it gives you 10 users for free, so you can have 10 different people scheduling content for the company. The great thing about this tool is it also gives you really great data, like reports on how your posts are doing. And during a crisis, it's really important to listen, to have that listening tool out there, and to see if your posts are engaging your community, and to keep posting, of course, on the types of posts that you see people are reacting to the most. So let's move on to email marketing here. Another one of our channels is through email. So we use Sharp Spring, as Sharif talked about. It's a very powerful tool. It's very similar to HubSpot. It has really great automation capabilities and lead management, lead scoring, everything you want in an email marketing system for about 10% of the price of HubSpot. So I strongly recommend it. I've used a lot of email marketing tools, and that by far is the best. And we used Power BI to pull lists from our BMS systems. It was tricky, I'm not going to lie. Many of you know how hard it is to pull contact lists from BMS systems. The MySharp app broker portal, actually we had to use that to pull lists as well. So we were thankful we had that as a tool in our back pocket. So for the first email blast we sent out was to let people know how we were reacting to COVID-19. So we advertised the MySharp app because we anticipated that our call center might be inundated with calls as we were trying to move remotely. We wanted more and more people to submit non-urgent claims through the app or online portal. So it wouldn't flood our call center. The second email we sent out was when we knew for sure we were going to move the call center remotely. So we let people know that we are closing our office to walk-in traffic to keep everybody safe and to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, and the different ways people could get a hold of us digitally instead of having to come in and see us. Oh, here it is. I do have it. So this is the Loomly screenshots. This tool is great. I really, really recommend it. It's super cost effective. And here you can see the different posts we had up, the imagery, who posted it, when it was published. And here are the analytics I was talking about. Really easy to see rather than having to go to the different platforms to pull and bring together the different analytics. So here I can watch on how things are performing engagement-wise. And the closest to Zoomly is Sprout Social. Sprout Social's Loomly is about 50% of the price of Sprout Social and has all the functionality. Next, we used the My Sharp app and portal. So when on Wednesday of last week, we moved the entire office remotely and we put a strain on the network, calls weren't coming in, we couldn't make outbound calls, calls were being dropped. We knew we needed to send out messages to our clients immediately. I then picked up the phone and I called Jordan, who's our account manager for Sharp, and I said, hey, how can we use the My Sharp app and portal? And she quickly showed me how to put banners up on the app to let people know what was going on in the office. And she showed me how to send out a push notification to all of our clients. This, guys, literally took me a minute. I wrote up the messages, selected who I wanted to send it to, and pressed send. Like it was extremely quick, and you do not need a communications team to do it. So I'm very thankful to Jordan. Jordan is actually on the line and she can show you how easy it is to actually update. I was a little embarrassed that I didn't realize how easy it was. Jordan, I can stop screen sharing here if you want to jump in.
Yeah, sounds good. Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan, so I'm an account executive here at Trufla. So as Tanya mentioned, our True Mobile solution can be a very powerful tool in times like these. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Can everyone see it okay? Yeah, okay, awesome. So what you're looking at here is our Trufla demo account, so not to worry, this is all dummy data. I just really want to show you guys how quick and easy it is to not only send out a mass communication to your insureds, but also update that banner that Tanya was talking about. So right now, we're looking at our list of insureds. I did want to touch on, Sharif had mentioned how tough it is to pull reports and segregate lists out of the BMS. To me, that's one of the most powerful functionalities of the app. You can segregate these lists in a matter of seconds. Myself, coming from a broker background, I've seen this used in the Fort McMurray fires, in the Calgary floods, because you can segregate these lists to, down to the postal code if you want to. For the situation we're in right now, being global, likely you're going to be selecting all of your insureds. So it truly is as simple as clicking select all and hitting send a message. We lay out the fields very nicely for you. Of course, this is meant for simple communication. It doesn't get too crazy, but it'll send this message to your insureds in both an email format, but also in a push notification form if they have that enabled on their device. If any of our customers or anyone else needs help on how to position themselves and how to help with the messaging that they want to put in here, we're more than happy to help, but it truly is that simple. The other feature that I wanted to highlight was the banner. So whether your clients are logging in through the portal or through the mobile app, there is a very apparent banner that slides across the top of their screen. Anyone that is a True Mobile customer can update this banner very quickly and on their own, no need for any communication tools. So you just go right into your settings. And you can add as many banners as you'd like. You can get super creative with them. I know a lot of brokers will add, payment bars or whatnot. For the circumstance we're in, we want to make sure that our insureds feel like they're taken care of and give them some peace of mind. So I just stole what Sharp had running across there. So it truly is as easy as just selecting an image you want to run across the top, a link, which when they click into the image, it will take them to, and you can select when you want it to show, how long you want it to show for. To show you what this would look like for an insured, I'll show you one more feature, which is our impersonate mode. So super cool. You can see exactly what your insureds would see. So I'm just gonna see what Alex is seeing here. So as you can see, the banner is quite apparent. This would be their login screen. This is the first thing they would see. And if I were to click into this banner, it takes me right into the landing page, giving me all of the information I need to know about COVID-19, which leads me quite nicely into how you can help promote the app using your website and using pop-ups on your website, putting this on social. And I am going to let Thomas take over from there and talk about how you can use your website to not only promote the app, but also help with the external communication as well.
Hey everybody, can you guys hear me okay? All right, so let me just give me a second here to share my screen. Which is never gonna be fun, but. Sorry guys, here we go. So can you guys see that okay? Sorry, Sharif, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see it? All right, perfect guys. So real quick, I just wanted to quickly talk about what your website can do to actually help you communicate with your clients, because I think that's the most important part. I can get the switch, here we go. So again, guys, the purpose of some of these updates is to, one, keep your customers informed, two, to reduce your call volume. As we all know, as the Sharp example, everyone's call volume is going up, which obviously takes time away from other tasks you could be doing, but more importantly, it's actually overloading some of our phone systems and causing outages, which doesn't help anyone. And most importantly, the goal here is to keep all of your staff and all of your customers safe. So real quick, for those of you who don't know, this is a stat I like to share with everyone. When your customers have a question, 95% of the time, they take to the internet first. So before they ever make a phone call, before they ever call a broker or a CSR team, they're looking to the internet to see if they can solve their question on their own. And 83% of them will go directly to your website before they ever make a phone call or before they ever call a CSR to have a discussion. So that tells me that the biggest opportunity you guys have to communicate with your clients is right on your website. One thing I'd really like that we've employed for everyone using the Trua platform is pop-ups. So if you're in the room and you see your pop-up, it's because I think you did a good job, so I took some screenshots. So real quick, what I want to say, when you have a pop-up on your site, make sure it fires right away on the homepage and firing for all new users that come to your site. Make sure that you have updated hours and let them know that what's going on inside your brokerage. And this is important. I know it's kind of already talked about how most of the office closures happened last week, but the situation is going to be constantly updating. As Sharif mentioned at the beginning of the call, Ontario just put in new measures. And I like to think that, you know, as we start getting back to work, we're going to have to update customers about what's open, you know, what they should bring when they come into the office. Can they do work online? Can you submit it through over the phone or another method, just so they don't have to come into the office if they don't have to. And then always make sure that you let clients know you're still open for business. So I really like, this is a pop-up from a client out in DC who made sure that they're letting clients know they're still available, they're still taking new clients, and you can click an email and give more information. And I think I have a few more examples of some great pop-ups. What I want to highlight here about the Sharp pop-up here on top is they didn't shy away from a problem, right? The other day there was so many phone calls coming in, so many changes in coverages and things like that, that they actually overload the phone system. So rather than just doing nothing, we got ahead of the problem and explained that there's going to be outages, customers may be experiencing difficulty, and just letting people know in advance, and it helps you down the road set the expectation with your client when they, you know, it's hard for them to get mad about a long call volume, like a long call time or wait time, because you've explained it to them and they already know that before they get on the phone, right? And then Eric, if you're on the line, you'll notice yours is here. So for those of you who aren't using a pop-up banner, you can actually just add a section to your website. So if you'll see the second message here, it says COVID-19 update. And this is actually a client who made a section on their site. And when you click the button, it will actually take you to a page explaining the entire situation, what's going on inside their office, and what they're doing to help. So just remember that there's some things you can do to help your community, and it's important you tell your clients what you're doing to give back. So I keep flipping this next one here. Real quick, I want to go over some things that you guys can all do on your websites right now to make them a little more proactive and a stronger communication tool for your clients. So the first is add an FAQ section. If you think about your CSR team right now, they are bogged down with repetitive calls, right? And we all know what they're going to be. It's going to be people who can't make their payments, people who need to defer a payment, maybe they're going to park their car for the next couple of months, or unfortunately some maybe be canceling their insurance, right? We find an FAQ section that answers those repetitive questions right there on your site is going to help reduce the amount of calls that come in. And also when they do call in, they'll be prepared and they won't be so surprised or shocked with maybe some of the harsh realities that they're going to face on the phone call. Keep your pop-up up to date. So what I mean by that is, as hours change, as the situation progresses, if you keep updating your messaging on your website, it's going to keep your customers informed, and they're going to know what's going on inside your brokerage and what's going on with their coverage. Make sure you implement a digital customer service tool. So I'm going to pause there for a second. I know, obviously, if you're on this call, you're aware Truthful has a mobile app. I do think everyone should employ some version of a mobile app, whether it's with True Mobile or with another client, or make sure you have a way to collect information online. So for some people, it might be a chat bot, or it might be a chat feature. Just have a way of collecting information that isn't face-to-face or isn't over the phone. Let people submit a form, submit a contact email. Let them take care of it that way, because that's how they want to be serviced, and that's how, quite frankly, we need to service them in the next couple months. And then make sure your website is mobile friendly. I think the stat is roughly about 58% of all searches do take place on a mobile device. I'm expecting that to go way up now that people aren't at their desktop computers at work playing around doing searches on their work time. They're probably playing around doing searches on their mobile phone or their tablet. So make sure your website is up to date and mobile friendly. And then just kind of my last little bit here, guys, is make sure you add value for beyond the policy, right? So I've seen some really great examples of clients writing blogs, creating posts, things like that, where they're talking about what they're doing to help the community. Remember that the reason why your clients chose the broker channel in the first place is because you're a trusted advisor in your community. So let's make sure we're still doing that, because even though we're going to have some tough conversations where people are going to cancel, people may be putting their maybe payment or put something on hold, they're going to come back. And the way you treat them now and kind of treating them as humans now is going to make sure they come back and you retain that customer, hopefully in the near future. Hopefully it's not too long. So kind of on that note, I did want to share with everyone all the brokers who are on the True Web platform. So we do have a couple websites out there that we've built custom on our platform for clients. We will be adding a free pop-up feature to that site, and we're going to be training everyone how to use it. So for everyone on this call who's using TrueWeb, if you haven't been in contact with myself or Jordan yet, you should expect a phone call hopefully by the end of today or early tomorrow. And we're also going to waive any fees for installing a third-party chat feature. So if any client on this call has a third-party chat feature that they want to use or that they've been in discussion with, we'll add it to your website for free. On that note as well, I'm actually talking to a few chat companies right now to see if they'll give us a discount for Truthful clients, just so they can all have the chat feature now and set it up nice and quick. And then for anyone who's on the call who's not on the TrueWeb platform, I just want you to know we're still here to help. So if you reach out to us after this call, I think we're going to try and put up a form, Tanya, is that correct? Yeah, so there should be a form after this where if you're having trouble installing a pop-up on your site or updating your hours or anything like that with your website, you can reach out to Jordan or myself or fill out the form, and we will try our best to get this up for you for free, because we do have these tools already pre-built that we should be able to deploy on most sites. I do ask for a little bit of forgiveness if some websites might already be too old or have too hard to update for us to make this a possibility for everyone, but we're going to try our best to get everyone a pop-up and make the updates that you guys need. As well as that, for anyone who doesn't know if their website's mobile friendly or even just wants a quick review of what they can do to improve on their site, you're welcome to reach out to either myself or Jordan, and we're happy to do a website audit as well as just give you some free tips and advice on what you can do right now on your site. And actually, as a quick update, Sharif, you might even be aware of this. I just had a discussion with the TrueWeb team right now, so It looks like for anyone who wants to maybe even switch to a new website that has some of the features I'm speaking about, we should be able to get a new site live from today all the way live within the next 4 to 6 weeks for anyone who's interested. And that's really it for me. This is my favorite about Mage. I tried to make them social distancing, but I couldn't get it to happen. But yeah, just everyone be safe. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. The Truthful team is here to help.
Thanks, Thomas. If you can just stop sharing your screen, and I'll go back to my screen real quick. Thank you. I'll just share my screen again. So, a couple more things I wanted to go over before we open it up to questions and comments. And this will only take about 5 minutes, and then we'll open it up. And we're not in a rush. If you guys, however long you guys want to stay, we're happy. We kind of set this thing for 90 minutes, but happy to hang around after. So, like we were talking about, communication to your team is so important. Clear communications is key. Setting expectations with your team is crucial. Example of communication that we did, something as simple as, how to install Citrix on their home PCs. Not everyone is that technical. Kind of a step-by-step guide, really simple, really quick to do it on Word, and you can save it as a PDF and send it out. Pretty easy. Even a document that we created that, for our customer, this is for our customer experience team, for example, what the expectations are what their expectations, what we're expecting of them working from home. Even though they are working from home, we have to maintain a high level of customer service. We have to be there for our customers. So we just kind of set the expectation for them that even though they're working from home, things are, it has to be business as normal. Of course, we completely understand that some people have their kids at home. They've got their whole families at home, and it makes it a little bit more challenging. But just, again, setting that expectation, and they can talk to their managers and whatnot about that. It's really crucial to set the expectations. Things to consider operationally, kind of operational best practices. This is kind of what we've seen and talking to partners and whatnot. Regular communications to your insurer partners is important. We put out an email to all of our carriers kind of saying, here's what we're doing, here's how we're going to manage, here's how you can get a hold of us. That's really crucial. You're expecting communication from them. They should get the same kind of communication. You're their distribution channel. And we always say that brokers, we know, are the best distribution channel for insurance in the country. Let your partners know what you guys are doing and how you're on top of it. That's really an important thing. Control your receivables right now more than ever. Obviously, with a lot of people out of that are going to be out of work, we know this is going to increase, especially in the commercial side. And it'll be followed by the personal line side. But make sure you control your receivables right now. Super important for a brokerage. Look at all your expenses. Right now is not the time to have unnecessary and frivolous costs. Just a piece of advice from me. Every person can manage, of course, how they want, but go through the expense lines and cut out what you can. It's pretty important right now. This is a big one that I really want to hammer home. It is time to cut paper out of the equation. There needs to be a focus on digital. The more you're digitized, the quicker you can pivot. This is not just about COVID-19, let's be honest. This isn't the first time we've had to mobilize. I mean, if you look at a brokerage like Rogers Insurance, for example, or BrokerLink or Cooperatives, when they had their offices in Fort McMurray, they had to mobilize really quick. In a major cat or the floods in Alberta or ice storms in Quebec or a hurricane in Atlantic Canada. Sometimes you do have to mobilize, get people working remotely quickly, in cat situations. It's time to cut paper out of the equation completely. We need to digitize. Digital payments are so important now. I mean, if you look at the main reasons why any brokerage, including ourselves, let's just call it as it is, including ourselves, we're pushing everybody to work from home but there is part of the team that we actually have to send in every day to capture the mail, scan things in. We have to cut checks to carriers. You know, we have to keep things moving. Look at options out there. ClearPay is a great one right now. You know, payments to carriers. Look at all the different payment options out there. You know, whether First or whoever. So you don't need to cut checks. If it wasn't for the mail and if it wasn't for the checks, we'd have 100% of our people working at home. We wouldn't need anybody to have to go into the office for any reason. We still do have that need. We're not immune to it either. And a lot of brokers are facing that. Time to cut paper out. Brokers need to take a leadership position on that. All types of paper. Aside from the fact that it's great for the environment, we need to cut paper out. You know, for the sake of our own businesses. That's a pretty important one. Marketing and sales are not unnecessary costs. Let me break this one down for you. Right now, yes, we're looking at cutting out expenses and doing things. However, this is not going to be ordinary business moving forward. Your clients are not just going to take their renewals in and take a look and say, oh, it's just a little increase and that's it. That's not what's going to happen. There is going to be churn in the market. There is going to be a lot of people that are going to be out there shopping. They're going to look at all their options, you know, and you need to be proactive with this. With that churn is going to be opportunities, lots of opportunities. Be ready for it. Be ready for it so that, you know, this is a great opportunity for brokers to showcase why we offer choice. We have all these tools, you know, show the value, but marketing and sales are important right now. Not to cut back on that. It's just pivoting a bit. You know, my thought is commercial lines would like to get hit first. That's what I think. Personal lines will follow after. I mean, a lot of businesses are closing down really, really quick and pivoting. I mean, now with Ontario and Quebec forcing the closure of most businesses, forcing people home because of the increase of this thing, we're just going to see it more and more now. You know, Friday last week, 500,000 Canadians applied for EI. You know, insurance is going to be one of those things that they're going to look at. That's just a reality. And my prediction here is that we've had an auto crisis across the country for quite some time, and it's caused a lot of heartburn for a lot of carriers. That's obviously going to drop, at least in the short term, with everybody staying home. But property claims are going to increase with everybody at home now. You're probably going to see more water damage. You know, people busy at work with their kids playing in the background and a fire starting somewhere. Like this is just the reality of what we're likely going to see. So just to be weary of it. And again, be proactive, not reactive. Make sure your customers have the right coverage. You guys know that. This is what we talk about all the time as brokers. You can pivot. There's lots of great opportunities for us to make sure clients have the right cover. Let's call it as it is. If there was a run on toilet paper, you can bet that people are going to take chances and try to do things like drive without insurance. Okay. Like this is there's a lot of things that are going to happen that are unusual. We need to be there for our customers, and we can pivot. That's why I do believe brokers are the best distribution channel, and we just have to hit that one home. So that's all I've got for now. That's all we've got. I'd like to open it up to questions and chat if anybody has comments. So what I'm going to ask is, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, but if you have a question or comment, please type the word question or comment in the chat feature below. If you look down, you'll see the chat feature there. You don't need to type your whole question or comment. I'll just go in order, and you can, when I call you out, you can unmute yourself and ask the group, and let's get some engagement here. So, any questions or anything? I'll open it up to everybody. Questions, comments, anything you want to share? Maybe you're out to lunch with some of the things we're saying, but I want to hear from brokers or whoever wants to share something. So I don't have the name, but N. Hewson. Do you want to unmute and ask your question? No. Okay. Well, I can read the question. What tool do you use to measure customer satisfaction? Tanya, do you want to take that one on?
Question. So we don't do NPS scoring right now. The tool we actually use to measure customer satisfaction for us is Google reviews. We have, I think, over 2,000 Google reviews for Sharp Insurance, and we encourage all of our brokers at the end of a call to be like, hey, you know, if you liked our service today, do you mind leaving me a review on Google? And just asking the person over the phone or through email has had a huge impact on our Google rating. I think we're at about a 4.9, 4.8. I haven't checked.
4.6. 4.6. And we
4.6.
actually ask it even if it's, you know, we like to ask on all calls, not just if it's good, because we need to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. Otherwise, we can't change up if we don't know what we're doing wrong either.
And we wanted to shift all of the customer satisfaction that we were getting from internal to external, because as everybody knows, these reviews have a huge impact on your SEO standing, and also helps conversion. So if someone looks at your website and you have a Google rating of 4.6 and 2,000 reviews, you bet they're going to follow through on clicking on your website and getting a quote. So that's why we decided to do that shift. I hope that answers your question.
All good.
Thank you.
Angus, do you want to unmute and ask your question? I'm happy to read it, but would love to hear your voice.
Hi, sure. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you betcha.
Great. Love to hear more about that 3-day communication cycle. Is the leadership team brainstorming ideas in the interim, or responding to news for the various stakeholder messaging? Like, what's happening every 3 days from the leadership team as far as getting the messaging out to different stakeholders?
Well, it's so because we use Slack, the leadership team actually shares all our messages and updates regularly, daily. It's not just on like the 3-day cycle is kind of the messaging that we've prepared for 3 days, but it can shift on the fly. We kind of throw everything into our Slack channel, and Tanya kind of picks it up, collects it, and kind of organizes everything based on intelligent order. Which is why that's the power of Slack. We don't need to wait for specific meetings for it. We throw everything in there, and then she kind of pivots her 3 days accordingly. Tan, do you want to elaborate on that?
That's absolutely correct. And I rely a lot on Sharif and the executive team for service updates. But not only that, I asked the frontline staff, hey, you know, what questions are you getting from clients? And a big one that we're actually doing a content strategy for right now, and this is part of the 3-day planning that I found out today, is payments. As you know, a lot of people are now unemployed, and Thomas yesterday brainstormed some ideas for blogs about how to save money on your insurance if you're not working right now, so parking your vehicle, and so thinking of content strategies on a 3-day cycle in terms of that. It also helps us as a retention tool to give our customers options that will help them save money through these challenging times.
So Sean, you've got, or Angus, does that answer your question?
Yeah, very helpful. Thanks.
Great. Sean, you have a question? Do you want to unmute and ask?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You betcha.
Excellent. Thanks very much for putting this on. Could you speak a little bit to the daily leadership check-ins that your remote staff are doing? What's the format and content of that? Is it a Slack team huddle, virtual team huddle? Is it more a one-on-one? What's expected and what happens?
Great
you.
question. So there's actually a couple of layers there. So as a leadership team, when things started to really unravel early on, we were doing a daily meetings that included weekends. So unfortunately for the Sharp crew, they were in on, they had to be on the calls on weekends as well as we were planning this thing out. Right now we're on every 2 days for the leadership team, starting today actually. So we had our meeting today and our next one will be Wednesday. And the message that I kind of had for the leaders was they need to be having daily, they already have daily stand-ups regularly at Sharp. So the team leads will kind of get their teams together and have quick little chat stand-ups or quick little chats. Now we ask them to do it on Zoom. So they have kind of a daily huddle with their team on Zoom. We prefer that they do it through the camera so they can see each other's faces. It's kind of that it's the new human touch right now. So we want them to see each other. And then we ask all of our leaders, and this was a very big part of the leadership meeting we had this morning, was they need to be checking in on their team regularly. Everyone has anxiety. Everyone is scared. They're worried about jobs. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about the spread of the virus. And so they need to check in on people. Brokers are not immune to it. So we ask them regularly to check in on them one-on-one. Yeah, that's kind of the different layers. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks very much, Reed.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Anybody else have any questions or anything? Happy to take some more or ideas. If somebody has something they want to share with groups and what you've done, happy to take in any ideas. We're always learning. We don't have all the answers, like I said. So if you've got something to share, happy to take that in. No, there's no bad questions if anybody has a question. All right. Okay, it looks like there's no other questions. So I think we'll end it there. Thank you very much for attending today, guys. I hope that was valuable. We did record this session, so we are going to put this. We'll put this recording up. We'll share it shortly. Anybody who is registered, we'll send it out to you by email. We'll probably post up a link to it for anybody that wants to hear it. We'll have the slides available as well. And if anybody wants to reach out to any of us directly, if you want templates. If you want to see, some of the things that we've sent out to clients, any kind of messaging or anything, always happy to help. Reach out to us. And thank you so much for taking the time. Good luck. Stay safe. Social distancing. We're all going to get through this together. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good one. Hand sanitize. There you go. Good job, Thomas. Thanks, everybody. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to end the meeting and I'm going to stop recording now.